Fresh vegetables, nutritious, delicious, and versatile. From the garden, to the kitchen, to your table. The lesson plan for today, the simple yet tasty ways I like to prepare my favorite vegetables. Tender, sweet carrots glazed in brown sugar. Sautéed broccoli rabe. Roasted acorn squash. Spring peas with mint. And a mouth-watering recipe for corn on the cob, inspired by my trip to Mexico. So today it's all about vegetables, fresh vegetables. And these can be purchased at your local farmer's market, and I certainly hope you are going to the farmer's markets to see what's in season, what's fresh, what's healthy, what's good. And all of these vegetables came from the farmer's market this morning here in New York City. And it's best to eat in season and local if you possibly can. Today I'm going to show you how to make a delicious dish out of two kinds of peas, sugar snap peas, which are these edible pod peas, which are so crispy and fresh, and shell peas, which yield beautiful fresh peas like this right out of the shell. Some mint and some spring onions. These are really the big bulb onions, but pulled young, this is what they look like. They're not scallions, they're not chives, they're spring onions. And these just clean well, take off any excess outer skin, and slice the white parts of the onion very thinly with your knife. And you saute these in a little bit of butter and olive oil until they're tender. Also, bring a big pot of water to a boil. Salt it generously with kosher salt. And the sugar snaps will choose plump, smooth-looking, crisp pods with a bright green color, and also have a good number of small seeds inside. If you open up a sugar snap pea, and if you let these go too long, if you're growing them, you can actually shell them for shell peas. But look how many little bright peas are inside this pod. That's a very nice sugar snap pea. That's the size I like, even for the shell peas. Okay, so in our pan, a tablespoon of olive oil and a tablespoon of butter. And you can just start very slowly cooking the spring onions. And in rapidly boiling salted water, put your shelled peas. And these should cook for 3 minutes in boiling water. Look, they immediately change to a bright, bright green upon hitting the water. And look how fantastic these look. Taste the biggest one. Needs a slightly bit more time. There, now with this nice wire spider, which is really a Chinese tool, you can scoop out the peas and put them into a strainer sitting in a bowl of iced water. And so those will now chill, lock in the color, lock in a lot of the flavor. Now into the same water, put your sugar snap peas. These should not take too long to cook. And again, they take on a vibrant green color. Draining the peas right here on the paper towel. Now the onions are just right, getting soft, translucent. So pretty. And you can get these right into the iced water also. And these can go right into your hot butter and onions. And add your shell peas. Now, what could be easier than that? Fresh, green, delightful vegetables, flavorful, pretty. Oh, don't forget the last little fabulous taste, and that's mint, fresh mint. You don't want a lot of mint. You don't want it to overpower the peas. So a tablespoon or two of torn mint leaves would be just perfect for this. And don't forget a little flavoring of salt and pepper. So pretty. So full of protein, fiber, vitamin C, thiamine, vitamin B6, folic acid, iron, niacin, riboflavin, magnesium, and potassium, all in this bowl. Can you believe it? Well, they're there. Try them. They're very good for you, and they are delicious. Now, carrots are my go-to vegetable for when I'm really desperate for something green. I cook up some orange carrots. They're very versatile. They can be served raw in salads, they can be steamed, they can be roasted, and they can even be braised, of course. When you're buying carrots, look for bright colored carrots with smooth skin and a firm texture. And this is a very nicely formed carrot with nice long tops. And the tops should be attached when you buy them. That's buying organic, which we should all do if we can, as often as possible. And here I'm just cutting the carrot tops off, reserving a few of the carrot leaves for this dish, because they are a vegetable. The leaves are a vegetable as well as the root. And peel with one of these little hand peelers. You want one that doesn't take off too much of the peel, just enough. Takes that tougher outer skin off. And there, it's a very nice, clean carrot. And this recipe is called brown sugared carrots. So peel and halve lengthwise 1 to 1.5 pounds of carrots. Try to have them pretty much the same size. Ready to cook the carrots. In a large skillet, large enough to hold all of the carrots, heat 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil and cook the carrots in that pan until they start to lose some of their moisture. Move them around, coat them with the oil. So now while you're sauteing, add a little bit of salt to your carrots. This does actually help pull the moisture out of the carrots and makes it easier once you add the sugar to caramelize those carrots. You can add a little bit of pepper too. Now again, by cooking, you really enhance the color of these carrots. They're a brighter orange than they were when you put them in the pan. While this is all going on, you could, at the same time, make your garnish of green carrot tops. These are very greatly enhanced if you fry them. So these are just pieces of the carrot top, and I have some grapeseed oil heating here in this pan. Oops! Watch out, it does splatter. Oh yeah, this does a very nice quick fry, and that'll be a pretty garnish. So I'll just add a bunch of these and stand away. They have a lot of moisture in them. And fry until a little bit crispy. So after about 3 minutes, add your sugar and molasses. That's 1 tablespoon, 2 tablespoons, and 1 tablespoon of molasses. Very pretty. Look how they fry. And cooking them in something like a grapeseed oil is very good because that has a very high smoking point. Look how beautiful they look. And again, stir the carrots. Now, if you left this cooking without any additional moisture, you might get some burned carrots. So I would suggest adding a little bit of water. And keep cooking, watching until the carrots are tender. And you might add up to, about a cup of water if your carrots are large and tough. So now, while the carrots are cooking, add a sprig or 2 of fresh rosemary just into that thickening sauce. And they're starting to get a little tender. Watch the point of a knife, just starting to penetrate easily. When it goes through easily, you know that it's done. Now, before you turn these off, put a small piece of butter, about 1.5 tablespoons, into the pan. And now you can scoop these out onto a platter and garnish with your fried carrot tops. How unusual and how beautiful. A delicious and slightly unusual way to serve carrots. Your family's going to adore them. I grew up in Nutley, New Jersey, and I must say there is nothing we wait for more than July and August Jersey corn. People look forward to it all year long. Corn begins to lose its sweetness the moment it is picked. All those delicious sugars start to turn to starch. So the faster you cook it after it's picked, the better. And I always ask, when was this corn picked when I go to the farm stand? And if the answer is anything but, oh, an hour ago or this morning, I don't buy the corn. So I want to show you basically one way to cook the corn, because people are always asking, how long do you cook it? What do you do with it? How do you serve it? And this is just stovetop corn in a large pot of boiling salted water. Some people add milk to the water. Some people add sugar to the water. I just add salt, especially if you have good, fresh, sweet corn. Put your corn cobs into the rapidly boiling water and try to clean the corn really well. Get all the pieces of silk off it, and you want to shuck it so that the ears are nice and clean. And let that cook and time it. 5 minutes for a fresh picked small kernel corn, maybe a few more minutes for the larger kernels like this. Bring it to a rapid boil. When you're choosing corn, always look for ears with bright green, snugly fitting husks and golden brown silk. And inside, the kernel should come all the way to the very top. And you want to buy the corn that you love the best. Yellow corn has larger, fuller flavored kernels. White kernels are generally smaller and sweeter. This has been in for 6 minutes. Just drain it on a cotton towel, and you can cover it with a cotton towel too. That'll keep it nice and steamy hot till you get it to the table. Looks good, smells good. So what I like to do is just take the ear of corn and a tablespoon of butter and just hold it like this and coat the whole thing with butter. And then as much salt as you like. Sprinkle the whole thing and just start chomping away. That's corn on the cob. Now, here is an alternative method of eating corn that I find utterly delicious. I went to Mexico City last year, and I couldn't believe how fabulous the Mexican street corn was. It's served on sticks like that, and the corn is coated with either sour cream or a tablespoon or so of mayonnaise. Hot corn, just slather on the mayo. Ugh, it's so good. And now sprinkle with a little cayenne pepper all over, and roll this corn right into queso fresco, Mexican white cheese. And serve that just like that with some wedges of fresh lime. That's Mexican corn on the cob. It's best to spread the condiments on the corn while it's still hot, and that'll ensure that the fats will melt in between the kernels, providing even more succulent eating. So whether you choose to have Mexican corn like this, or just plain corn on the cob with butter and salt, they're both delicious. Enjoy. So now I want to tell you a little bit about broccoli rabe. It's actually more closely related to the turnip than to broccoli, even though some of the plants do produce these little tiny broccoli-like florets, and sometimes these turn yellow as they open. Broccoli rabe is named after the Italian word for turnip, rapa, and it is a very delicious, slightly strong green that's easy to prepare and delightful to serve. Now, this is how it comes in the grocery store, cut like this into almost equal length pieces. Always trim off the cut ends just to give you a fresh start. And then I like to actually take the broccoli rabe and cut off the thicker part of the stems like that, and I start cooking them first. because they're a little bit tougher. The leaves cook much, much faster. We're using 1.5 pounds of broccoli rabe, trimmed and washed well. In a pot of boiling salted water, blanch first the stems. This is going to tenderize and make more palatable the vegetable itself. And this is going to take about 40 to 60 seconds for the stems. Add the thinner stems. Toast some pinoli nuts, about 3 tablespoons of pinoli nuts in a dry skillet. And now we can add the leaves. And 1.5 pounds will cook down to a lesser amount. So here's our nuts toasting. The way you tell that the nut is toasted is to smell it. Before it turns brown, you start to get the smell of the pinoli nuts. Now shock it. So pretty, so green. And this ice water will indeed set the color. And so once your nuts are toasted and your broccoli rabe is blanched, heat a tablespoon of olive oil in the skillet. Add your beautifully blanched broccoli rabe. And this is to warm it up. And you can zest some lemon, which tastes very excellent on the broccoli rabe. Now don't put the lemon on until after the broccoli rabe has been warmed. Just save it here on the side. And keep tossing. It's an excellent source of vitamin A, C, and K. It's also extremely flavorful. So now I think we can remove it to the platter. Sprinkle with your pine nuts. And of course with your lemon zest. And here a little bit of salt, a tad more pepper, and there you have broccoli rabe, perfectly cooked and delicious. Now it might seem obvious to most of you, but this is an acorn squash. It is a winter vegetable. The pale orange flesh is tender with a flavor reminiscent of hazelnuts and pepper. And most people would simply eat the flesh, but this would mean that they're missing out on the vital antioxidants and nutrition that the skin provides. So to prepare this particular recipe, have the acorn squash. Now this is a little bit difficult to do. You must have a very, very sharp knife to cut this in half. Straight down. There we go, through the segments. Now we are going to take out all these seeds. I find that an ice cream scoop with this very sharp edge really works very well for this task. But you might have your favorite sharp spoon in your kitchen. So cut this into wedges about 1 inch thick at the widest. Again, it's really good to have a sharp chef's knife like this to do this task. 2 tablespoons of olive oil all over the squash. And sprinkle with some coriander, 1/4 teaspoon. And 1/4 teaspoon of cumin. And about 1/8 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. Toss this and try to coat each wedge with the oil and the spice. Oh, don't forget salt and pepper. And a big pinch of pepper. Have your oven preheated to 425 degrees. Looks very good. And spread this in one layer. And we're roasting directly on the metal instead of on parchment or something because we really want the squash to brown. Now this will be roasted for about 30 minutes, flipping once. So the squash is roasted for 30 minutes. Now, if you can pierce it easily with the point of a knife, and this pierces extremely easily, just like butter, you can be assured that it will be done enough to eat. And the skin itself is so pretty, all nicely roasted, and just arrange it on a serving platter. You can do the same thing with the butternut squash. Doesn't need anything else to be a very tasty and beautiful. Little tiny bit more salt, and it's ready to serve. Acorn squash skin, this dark skin, actually provides an array of phytonutrient benefits, which means they help the body get rid of toxins. So eat up some acorn squash. Now, just as broccoli was the king of the vegetable kingdom a few years ago, it is said now that kale is king because it's one of the most nutritious vegetables. This very hardy member of the cabbage family, cruciferous family, is an excellent source of vitamin A, C, and B6. And this recipe for a lemony kale salad will certainly make you a believer that kale is king. So tear the kale into small pieces, removing the very thick rib down the center of a kale leaf. This is green curly kale. This is what it looks like, a nice big curly leaf like that. This is available regularly in the grocery store. This is dinosaur kale, which is also a commonly available kale. And it is a beautiful kale, and very nice for this salad also. And this is Russian red kale, which is similar to the green curly, but it has a very sort of reddish purple stem and veins in the leaves. So all of these are commonly available. We'll need about, a half a pound of kale for this particular salad. And once you get the leaves off the coarse stem, just coarsely chop the leaves. Nice and crunchy. The leaves should not be wilted. They should not be flaccid. They should not be brown in any way. And that's probably enough kale for our salad. And now for the dressing. So simple. Just a quarter of a cup of olive oil, the juice and zest of a lemon. So we're going to zest the lemon first before we juice it. Fine, fine zest. Perfect for salads. And now the juice of the lemon. And these lemons are so big that I like to, if I'm going to use one of these hand juicers, just cut off the ends of the lemon. These juicers are great because they eliminate the seeds and let you get almost all the juice out of the skin. So very good. You can whisk that up. And salt and pepper. So it almost emulsifies. It's so pretty. How beautiful. Now add your kale. Now this salad can be made, early in the day because the longer it sits, kind of the better it gets. A third of a cup of toasted blanched hazelnuts. This is a delicious salad. You can put it into a serving bowl, of course. And garnish it with some shreds of Parmesan cheese. Vegetables are so important to a healthy, well-balanced diet. Now that you have some new recipes, try eating more vegetables. But try to remember also to buy fresh, local, and what's in season. You'll add both nutrients and variety to your family's dinners. Join me next time on Martha's Cooking School.